Hey everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of How to Start a Business and Keep Going Even When It's Hard. I am your host, Neal Tucker, and today I want to talk about a principle that it comes up a lot in business books, entrepreneurship books, self-development books, and it is essentially on its own a principle that you can apply to any aspect of your life. It's a principle that you can take and use to better yourself, to better your business, to better your relationships, to help you achieve your goals on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and even a lifelong basis. Yes, this principle really is that powerful. It's a principle that I have used off and on throughout my both my personal and my professional lives to figure out what I can do to immediately see results, to immediately see big changes in my business and big changes in my life. And it has a couple of principles underneath it. I mean, we'll go through those too, but the main thing that I want to get across is this essential principle, okay? I won't bury the lead anymore. I won't string you along anymore. Here's the principle, okay? Whenever you're facing a challenge to growth, whether that is in your business, in your freelance career, in your fitness goals, diet goals, in your relationships with your significant other, your relationships with your family, relationships with peers, friends, business groups, business peers, anyone, okay? Whether this is an obstacle that you're finding or a challenge that you're finding in one area or multiple areas, you can apply this principle across the board. If you can think of an exception to this, please let me know, because all rules have exceptions, right? There's an exception to every rule. That's the way that principle goes. So there may be an exception to this, but I would love for, if you know what that is, let me know, because I'd love to hear what that exception would be. Here's the principle. Whenever you're facing a challenge to growth, in whatever area it is, find the number one thing that is limiting your growth and put, maybe not all, you may not be able to put all, but put 80, 90% of your energy and resources into solving that. And the other 10 to 20% on making sure that everything else day to day, because there's still a lot that has to go on, especially if we're talking about a business. If we're talking about fitness goals or something else, you may be able to put 100% of your energy into it. But when it comes to business, you may be only able to put 75, 80% of your resources into solving it. But that's the principle. Find the number one limiting factor. Okay, that's what Simon Reynolds calls it in his book, Win Fast. Mike Makowitz calls it, I might be messing up his last name, but in his book, Fix This Next, basically puts it that way. Very simple. 3 words. Fix this next. Whatever the next thing is. Whatever the number one thing is that is keeping you from growing, keeping your business from getting to where you want it to be. Focus on that. Fix this next, right? Fix that thing next. And like I said, this principle comes up a lot in business books. This principle comes up a lot in self-development books, and with good reason. Because if you can identify the number one thing that's keeping you back, that's holding you back, then in theory, and it does work out in practice because I do it myself, in theory, you should be able to solve that problem and make extreme progress after that problem has been solved. And then after that problem is solved, focus on the next problem, whatever that thing is, okay? Let's talk about this let's get away from the business perspective for a second and just talk about something that's a little bit more tangible, because I find that this analogy works really well. And not only is it an analogy, but it is also practical. It's something that I have done personally and that you can do as well, okay? So here's something that I want to point out. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, okay? Most people at some point in their lives may find themselves at a point where they weigh a little bit more than they want, okay? And we all know that being within a healthy weight has positive implications for your overall health, your overall lifespan, and your overall quality of life. Okay, so you think to yourself, all right, I want to lose weight. Okay, now, let's say you've been trying to lose weight for a while and it's not happening. All right, you've been trying to lose weight for 3 months, 6 months, maybe years. You've been trying off and on to lose weight. Maybe you've been trying different diets or trying different gyms or whatever it might be. Fasting, paleo, keto, whatever it is. You've tried it all. Nothing seems to work. Instead of thinking, I can't lose weight, instead of thinking nothing works for me, try to figure out what the number one limiting factor is for you to lose weight. Okay? Last year, I myself was trying to lose weight, and I'm still on that journey. But I realized that the number one thing for me was that the apps and the services that they're helpful, these weight loss apps and things like that, they're very helpful and they serve a fantastic purpose. But I had been working out 5-6 days a week and I wasn't seeing the kind of growth I wanted. I thought, man, I'm working out hard. If you must know, my wife and I go to Orange Theory Fitness, and if you've ever done those workouts, they really kick your butt. But I wasn't seeing the growth I wanted, or rather the loss I wanted in this case. And I wasn't seeing, I was not losing weight the way that I wanted to. I had lost some, but I had not come anywhere near to where I knew that I could be and where I knew I wanted to be. I just wasn't there. So I looked at my set of circumstances and I said, okay, what's the number one thing that seems to be holding me back? Well, it's clearly not working out. I'm working out freaking Olympic athlete. And that's not tooting my own horn. That's the way those Orange Theory Fitness workouts are. They're really hard. They push you really hard. So I had essentially this gym full of trainers that was helping me and pushing me to be better and do better and to achieve physical fitness in a way that I hadn't in a long time, if maybe ever in my life. And so I thought, okay, it's not that. I know I'm working out well. I know I'm doing what I need to be doing there. So what's the other thing? When it comes to weight loss, it's usually two things: exercise and diet. Diet and exercise. So I looked at my diet and I said, okay, what am I not doing here in diet that I could be doing? What is the number one thing that's holding me back? And it wasn't even so much writing down what I eat, because I've done that off and on for a long time. So it wasn't so much that I was hitting that wall. The wall for me, the number one thing I found out was accountability. I discovered through hiring a nutritionist, because I realized clearly that something was wrong with my diet and I couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong. I knew that I thought I was eating the right number of calories. I thought that I was doing what I needed to be doing, but I wasn't. It was clear that I wasn't. And so I hired a nutritionist, which is actually a lot. It sounds like it sounds like something the 1% does. I can guarantee you I'm not in the 1%. And it's a lot more affordable than you might think it is. And so I was able to find someone through a Google ad and signed up through this service that allowed me to have monthly meetings. Actually, I think we started out with weekly or bi-weekly meetings with a nutritionist who happened to actually be local. We still did it virtual, but it was nice to have that shared language. She also lived here in Los Angeles. And she was able to look at what I was doing and what I was eating and tell me where I could improve. She was able to tell me the things that I could do to tweak my diet, but also was able to tell me how many calories I actually needed to be eating. Because you can look this up online and you can try to find the information you want, but until you have a nutritionist look you in the eye and say, this is the number of calories you need to eat, and you go, man, that is way less than I thought. So it turned out that one of the biggest limiting factors was actually very simple, and that was just the calories themselves. I needed to be eating a lot fewer calories. So that was the very first limiting factor. But once I was able to, and that was pretty quick. It wasn't overnight in terms of me being able to actually start eating that low number of calories right away. It actually took several months for me to really get into that because it's really hard. So it was a struggle. But interestingly enough, it wasn't even really the calories themselves that was the limiting factor. Because once I knew that, and I could have gotten that information potentially from someone else or somewhere else, but the fact that it was a person telling me that, and a person that I knew I was going to be accountable to for the next 6 months, that I'm going to have these conversations where I go, I didn't lose weight this month. And then she says, okay, let's look at your diet. What did you eat? And I have to say, I ate this much. And she says, okay, based on our conversations, that's too much for what your goals are. And so I discovered through that the number one limiting factor for me at that time for weight loss, after getting the calories, I guess you could technically say that was the first limiting factor, was the calorie count, not knowing, which is a bit of a black swan. I didn't know what I didn't know. But once I was able to get over that quick hurdle, that quick limiting factor of, okay, this is the number of calories you need to eat if you actually want to lose weight. And it's a bigger cut than you think it might be. So if you're looking to lose weight and you hire a nutritionist based on this advice, just know they may tell you you need to eat less than you think. So it can come as a bit of a shock, a bit of a surprise there. But that being said, it turned out that for me, accountability was the actual limiting factor. And so I put all of my sort of energy and resources into that, into saying, okay, I know I have to tell this person what my weight is, how much I've been eating, etc. That's literally her job, is to know those things. And I would be doing myself and her both essentially a disservice if I lied. Oh, look, I lost all this weight. We're doing Zoom calls, so she'll be able to tell, right? Looking at my face. So there's this accountability factor there too. That is long and short of it. For me, it turned out that weight loss was primarily an issue of really just knowing how much I needed to eat or how little I needed to eat, however you want to look at it. That initial point, okay, that I needed to get over. But really, the main limiting factor was not knowing the number of calories. The main limiting factor was I wasn't accountable to anyone. There wasn't anyone that had a vested interest in knowing that I was doing something better for my health. I needed to lose weight. I was overweight. And I knew that in order to be healthy, I needed to lose weight. And so that was my goal. And having someone to essentially report back to made a huge difference, made an enormous difference. How does this go back to business? In business, there's always going to be limiting factors. I think about it a lot. There was this ad, it was a podcast ad, and it said something like, in business, when you own your own business, firsts never stop. I can't remember exactly how they put it, but the idea was that you're always going to be coming up against an obstacle. There's always going to be an obstacle, and there's always going to be obstacles you've never even seen before. Obstacles you never even knew to imagine that they would even exist. Again, that's that black swan idea. You don't know what you don't know. There are things you don't know, and then there are things that you don't know you don't know. And those are those things that it's very hard to plan for. But what you can do is look at the things, okay? And you can look at those and you can say, what is the number one limiting factor keeping us from excelling, keeping us from growing? Okay, so one of those might be consistent lead generation. You may find that if you run a services business, for instance, or you run a product like a software, like a SaaS company, if you are running software as a service or a service company or something like that, you need consistent lead generation. Or if you are in real estate or legal professional, there are so many, a dentist, right? There are so many, a chiropractor, so many professions where you need consistent lead generation. You need people coming in that are potential customers, potential clients, potential accounts for your business. So maybe you discover that the number one limiting factor for you right now is we just don't have enough consistency with the clients coming to us. How do we solve that? So you put 3/4 of your resources into solving that problem. You say, okay, we haven't tried TikTok at all. Let's look at TikTok and let's run an experiment. Let's hire a marketing agency to run ads for us on TikTok and see if that succeeds, because we've seen success with Facebook or Instagram or Google or whatever, but maybe those have dried up. Okay, so here's another way to look at it. Let's see if we need to change our Facebook and Instagram strategy. There's another way to do it. Change our Google strategy. Maybe paid isn't working as well, so now you need to do organic. Or maybe paid's working really well, but it's not bringing in enough. Okay? You've put more fuel on the fire in terms of daily ad budget. That doesn't seem to be working, so you're going to try organic. Okay? Posting organic content on social media, creating videos, podcasts, newsletters, attending conferences, speaking events, things like that. And so you're doing all of these things to essentially put as many resources as possible onto that problem, that limiting factor. And I use that phrase too, that is mentioned, like I said at the top, in several books. Simon Reynolds calls it that, the limiting factor. So in your business, think about this. What is the number one limiting factor, the factor that is limiting your growth the most? And then try to put as many resources as possible on that problem so that you can solve that problem right away, as quickly as possible. Now, as quickly as possible may be 3 months. Keep that in mind, right? If you own your own business, you know that already. I don't need to tell you that. But as quickly as possible may not be tomorrow. It may be a month, 3 months, a year, depending on what the problem is. Let's say the problem is you don't seem to be hiring the right people. Okay, maybe you're a brick and mortar store, maybe you sell a physical product, or maybe you sell a service that's an in-person service, a car wash, a laundry service, home cleaning. There's so many services where you need people on site physically doing a job for someone else. Pest control. And let's say that for some reason you decide, you look at the numbers and it looks like the number one limiting factor is that you just seem to not be hiring the right people. And maybe that's because you have high turnover. Maybe that's because the training isn't going well. Maybe it's because your hiring department doesn't have the right resources to hire the right people. But if that's the number one limiting factor to your growth, you're not getting 5-star reviews because very few people are having a 5-star experience. Put all your resources, or as many resources as you can, into solving that issue. So you've said, okay, let's say that was number one, lead gen. Number two was hiring the right people. Okay, great. Go through that list, dealing with one limiting factor at a time. Because all things being equal, there can really only be one. That was a weird way to say all things being equal. No, not all things being equal. There can only be one number one limiting factor. So find out what that number one limiting factor is and work to solve it. And once you have figured that out and worked to solve whatever that number one limiting factor is, the next step, you probably saw this coming, is to do it again. And working in this way, you can continue to make significant growth in your business or fitness goals, whatever it might be, on a consistent basis over time. And what it does is it forces you to think tangibly, to think practically, and to not think fatalistically or nihilistically. Oh, woe is me. Everything's going wrong. I can't lose weight. I can't succeed in business, whatever it might be. If you're a freelancer, oh no, I can't get new clients. Or if you're a business, I can't get new leads, whatever it might be. It forces you to think in such a way that you're always focused on the number one most important thing that's getting in your way toward your goals. And it helps in looking for the limiting factor to be ultra clear about what your goals are. So if you're having trouble figuring out what that limiting factor is, there's some things you can do. If you look at your business and you're having trouble finding out what the number one limiting factor is in terms of the number one obstacle in your path, keeping you from the growth that you know you want and can get, one of the first things that I recommend for myself and for others is to look at your goals and be ultra clear about them and to know exactly what it is that you want in that area. If you want to lose weight, if you want to get stronger, if we're talking about fitness, of course, if we're talking about business, if you want to grow your revenue, if you want more 5-star reviews, whatever the specific goal is that you're working toward, the number one goal at that time, because your goals may change, can and do change over time too. So look at your goal and then find the number one limiting factor keeping you from that goal right now. So that's this whole episode. That's what this whole episode's been about. And I'm going to end it there because I think that's enough. I think that, I know it has been for me when I came across this years ago, this idea of fix this next and the limiting factor and all that, that it revolutionized the way that I think about my goals. And it revolutionized the way that I think about daily progress toward goals in the same way that Atomic Habits has done for millions of people, including me. That's another great book. If you have not read it, please go read it. Atomic Habits, James Clear. One of the best books ever in terms of self-development, business development, whatever it is, personal growth. It's a tangent. But focus on, so here's your homework, your mission, should you choose to accept it. Think about what your ultra clear goal is in one or more areas. Then look at all the things that are keeping you from achieving that goal and figure out the most important one, the one that is blocking you the most, or the one that is, if you can overcome it, could lead to infinite gains in the future. If you can create infinite leads, you can create, potentially, if you can close those leads, you can create infinite business opportunities, right? If you can figure out, like for me with fitness and dieting, if you can figure out that accountability is going to help you succeed and lose weight faster and more consistently, then that's your number one limiting factor with personal health. So there's all sorts of different goals that you could have in life, any number. Maybe you're trying to learn a new language. Maybe you're trying to learn to cook. Maybe you're a freelancer just getting started and you don't even know where to start. This can really help you in any area. So make sure that your goals are ultra clear. Write them down. Helps a lot to write them down. Write down your goals on paper in your notes app or Word or Pages or whatever it is that you use, Google Docs. Make sure that it's super ultra clear. If you think it might not be ultra clear, try again. Write it again. See if you can get your goal right now in whatever area it is into one or maybe two sentences. My goal in my business, my number one goal in my business right now is to 2x my revenue. Great. That's a great goal. It's very specific because you know what your revenue is now and that you can multiply it by 2 very easily and figure out what it is that you want to be doing. So if you're doing $10,000 a month in revenue and you want to 2x that, you want to be doing $20,000 in revenue. Okay, great. That's an ultra clear goal. Very specific. You know what the goal is, and you'll know when you've achieved it because you're hitting $20,000 a month consistently over the course of, let's say you want to make sure that you're doing it for 3 months or something. Then look at the number one limiting factor in your way. Is it leads? Is it your salespeople? Is it you don't have enough reviews? Whatever it is. Is it your marketing? Is it your social media content? It could be anything. But look at all those things, find the number one limiting factor, and then put as many resources as you can on that project, okay? And here's my shameless self-plug. I wait for the end, okay? It's here at the end. If you need help figuring out what that number one obstacle is, I can help you with that. Me and my team can help you out with that. If you figured out that the number one problem right now is marketing, we can definitely help you out with that too. As a full-scale digital marketing agency, my agency, Copywriterly, can help you put gasoline on any fire that you want and help your business to skyrocket. So if you're looking to generate more leads, if you're looking to 2x your revenue, if you're looking to rebrand or take your social media to the next level, you have no idea how to use Instagram, or you don't know how to use TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you don't even know what some of those are, that's okay. Our team can walk you through it. You can get a free, no strings attached, no hard sales call with one of our account managers and get a free audit of everything that you're doing right now. And we'll let you know what we think would be the best thing for you to do. We can essentially give you a list of potential number one limiting factors. And because you're inside the business, you can determine which one you feel is going to help you the most, along with us, along with our team. And then we can tackle that with you. And if it turns out that we're not the best, we have a ton of peers in marketing, and we can find someone else that may be able to assist you too. Okay, we will always try our best to help you, even if it's not us. If we know someone else that we think can help you in that specific area, we will. Our niche, primary niche, is in the event space, selling tickets to any kind of ticketed event, whether in person or virtual. But we have clients in just about every niche that you can possibly imagine, have had and or do have clients in just about any niche that you can imagine. So if you're looking to explode your sales and grow your marketing this year and to 2x your revenue or whatever it is that your goal is, we're here to help you do that. So you can find the link to all of our links, but you can find the link to book a free onboarding call or just a free audit call, whatever it is you want to call it, a free call. It's just a free call with us. No strings attached. We will spend time talking to you, learning about your business, primarily listening to you, getting a sense of where you are, and then finding out the best way for me and my team to help you grow. Because that's really all that we want. We always say this, and a lot of businesses say it, but we really mean it. Your success is our success. If you don't succeed, we see it as we haven't succeeded either. So your success is our success. That's what we want, is to see you succeed. So I really hope that you'll book a call with us. Again, it's completely free, no strings attached, no hard sales. So don't worry about any of that. Just a friendly call. We just want to help you. As for the podcast, I would love for you to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or leave a review on Spotify or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and share it with a friend. If you know someone that is running their own business or a freelancer or just enjoy self-development and business hacks and life hacks in podcast format, please send them our way. Forward this podcast to them. That would mean the world to us. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of our podcast, How to Start a Business and Keep Going Even When It's Hard, the longest name in podcasting. I don't know that for sure, but it's probably one of them. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you next time.